Hello and welcome to my talk, Fighting Back Against a Distracted World. I'm Stephen Haunts and I'm a freelance independent contractor and also an author for Pluralsight. So I want to start off with a quote. So that quote is, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness." And this is from Charles Dickens' book, A Tale of Two Cities. But I like this quote because it can really be applied to our modern day when we talk about technology. So it was the best of times. So we have lots of fantastic technology. I'm sitting here in front of a really nice recording setup. I can record this video, edit it to allow you to watch it. We have streaming services, social media, really advanced gaming consoles. It's great. What a time to be alive. But it's also the worst of times. So there's so many distractions which can stop us from being productive and actually achieving what we want to do, that all of these wonderful toys that we have and these tools and services and websites actually end up becoming our undoing if you don't control them properly. Because before you know it, you spent ages binging some new hot show on Netflix and not actually doing the things that you want to do. So that's kind of why I want to talk to you today. So, why do we care? Why is this important? Well, as professionals, we're all trying to succeed in life. We want to work our way up the career totem pole to achieve great things. And it can be hard. Now, if anything, the last 18 months through this pandemic has taught us that there's even more distractions because, we've all been trying to work from home for a period of time. I know companies are starting to filter back into offices at the moment, but, it's been hard. There's been a lot of distractions around us, either via social media, TV, or just having the children home we're trying to homeschool. So what I want to talk a bit about my own personal story in this and talk about how I've tried to tackle various different problems and kind of, what's worked for me and what hasn't. And hopefully some of this will work for you as well. Okay, so back in 2017, I decided to quit my job. Now, the last position I was in, I was the head of development and sort of development manager for a fairly new startup. We was building some pretty cool tech around the insurance field in the UK. And, it was a great job. I quite enjoyed it. But, I kind of turned 40 and realised that, there's more to life than just working for someone else and doing things for other people. So I wanted to kind of do something else. Now, I didn't just quit my job willy-nilly just for the sake of it. I've been working with Pluralsight for quite a long time. I had a good selection of courses on their platform. They were doing well. And whilst I wasn't earning enough to replace my current salary, there was definitely a trajectory that looked reasonably stable. So I thought to myself, if ever I'm going to quit my job and try and do something for myself, now's the time to do it. And what was quite funny is that, I just turned 40 at this point, and me and my wife had been discussing me making this move for quite a while. It wasn't, a spur of the moment thing. We had a plan, and part of that plan was, I had to save up a certain amount of money in my business so that we had a safety net to fall back on if necessary. And I had to kind of be able to prove that there was, growth in what I was earning through Pluralsight and then potential in contracting as well. But obviously, me and my wife kept these plans to ourselves. It was private to us. So when I did quit my job, I had a lot of my friends actually get in touch to me and say, "Are you okay, Steve? You just turned 40 and you just quit your job. Most people buy a sports car or a motorbike or a boat. But I'd quit my job. But, I put my friends at ease. This was a calculated plan that we've been working towards." Now, when the day came that I left, it was brilliant. I no longer had a boss breathing down my neck, spying on what I'm doing. Although that's probably a little bit disingenuous because I actually got on really well with the founders of the last company I was at. But I wasn't doing stuff for them anymore. It was all about what I could do for myself. And this was absolutely brilliant. It felt absolutely liberated. Well, I felt liberated. I could work on Pluralsight courses. I was working on some book ideas and some stuff for YouTube. I was a master of my own destiny. Now, at this time, I was working from home. And my wife also works from home. My wife's worked from home for about 17 years, so she's really an expert at it. So that means the spare room that we use as an office is kind of what my wife uses during the day. So I couldn't really go and turf her out of there. That'd be a bit unfair. So we have a dining room in the house. We don't really use it as a dining room, to be honest. A lot of people don't, certainly in the UK. So I rearranged that room a little bit and I turned that into my kind of makeshift office for the moment. And that was great. But after about 9 months, I started being a little less disciplined, and like, where my dining room is, you have a big set of double doors to the left, and then you've got like the lounge area, or the front room, whatever you want to call it, with the TV and the sofa and all that sort of stuff in there. And after a while I started thinking, well, let's just go sit on the sofa and I'll pop something on TV and I'll just work on the laptop from the sofa. Now, I was working, I wasn't slacking off, but before I knew it, I'd actually watched, I think at the time it was 10 seasons of Big Bang Theory, and I was like, this isn't good. Well, it was good, the show, I loved the show, but it's not good that I've actually, whilst supposedly working, watched this entire 10 seasons of a TV show at the same time. So I thought, well, something really needs to change. But also at this point, I was actually starting to resent working from home a bit. When you're stuck in the same place day in, day out, you start to get a bit of cabin fever. Now, when I originally wrote this talk, I've done this talk quite a few times around the world. Now, it was originally written pre-COVID. Obviously, everyone can probably fully relate to this, because being stuck at home whilst you're trying to work and homeschool the kids, and if you've been in lockdowns and not been able to go out, I'm sure people can kind of relate to how this feels. You kind of feel a bit enclosed in, and I was certainly starting to feel like that, working in this small room at home. It was starting to get to me a bit. So I thought, right, something needs to change, so I need to go to a co-working space. So I did a bit of research, and I found a place not too far from me. It's 10 minutes on the train, just a couple of stops, in a lovely little town called Cromford, which is in the Peak District National Park in Derbyshire in the UK, which is near where I'm from. Absolutely beautiful part of the world. On a little sidebar, if you ever go on holiday to the UK, spend a few days in London, do the London thing, but then get out of London and travel north a bit. So where I live is a national park, and it's absolutely beautiful. But anyway, I went to a co-working space, and you had various different options. You could pay a bit of money and then just use whatever desk's available on the day, or for a little bit more each month, you could hire a fixed desk, which is what I did. So you can see here, this was my desk at the co-working space, which meant I could put my monitor on it and my mug and stuff like that, and it was mine. Nobody else would sit at it. And this was brilliant. I was there for about 9 months working at this particular desk. But it was good for me because even though I work for myself, I don't actually enjoy working from home. Never really enjoyed it. I still like the idea of getting up in the morning, getting showered and ready, dropping the kids off, and then going out to work. And I was kind of missing that from my previous job. So I wasn't missing working for someone else, but I was kind of missing the routine. And that's quite common. A lot of people that work for themselves kind of have similar feelings about this after a while, which is why co-working spaces are so popular. But then after about 9 months, the owner of the co-working space, or the general manager, came up to me and said, we've got this office that's come available in one of the other buildings. Would you be interested in taking a look at it? We discussed prices, and it was more expensive than what I was paying, but not much more. Because the room was a bit of a state and it needed new carpets and new paintwork. So they offered to do all that, put the carpets in and paint it all. But then I moved into this building here, or this room here. And I was here for about 3 years. And absolutely brilliant space. It was nice, big. It was about 300 square foot. It was where I built quite a few pluralsight courses in here. And I had my little sofa in there and a TV. It was a bit of a man cave, I must admit. Now, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I'd still be there now, and that's where I'll be recording from now. But during lockdown and, all the fear of going on a train and being in this enclosed environment, and I had a discussion with my wife, and we're like, well, maybe I should try and find an office that's actually in the town that I live in, somewhere that I can actually walk to. So around July, August time, 2020 last year. So in the UK, the virus was very, very low at that point. It was, it was kind of a background problem until the winter. So I looked around, and then I found this place where I'm recording from now, which is, again, it's a brilliant space. I absolutely love it here, but it's local and I can walk to it from home in about 10 minutes. So going through these different phases of my kind of working for myself career, from working from home to co-working to renting an office, it kind of allowed me to do a lot of self-reflection on about what productivity is and what it means to me, and how you can kind of tame a lot of those distractions that are around you. So in this talk, there's a few areas I want to talk about. So I want to talk about distraction and procrastination, problems that affect pretty much everyone. If someone says they're not affected by these, then they're probably lying. I want to talk a bit about social media addiction and the problems of social media. I want to talk a bit about self-motivation, and I want to talk about some just general productivity and time management tips that I've adopted in my daily work process. Now, before we get on to the main part of the talk, so this isn't me hating on technology. Now, I talk about technology a lot in this course and some of the problems it can pose, but this isn't me saying you need to discard technology because it's really bad for your productivity. That's not what I'm saying at all. I love technology. I'm sitting here in this, environment which is brilliant for recording content like this. I love computers. I love streaming services. I wouldn't say I like parts of social media. So this isn't about me hating on technology. It's about how we can kind of control the distractions around us. Now, it's also not my aim to be preachy. I'm not trying to preach to you. I'm not trying to teach you the way and, get you to say, or getting you to adopt my way of working. That's not my intention. I'm talking about some of the things that have affected me and how I've dealt with them. You may want to adopt some of them. You may agree. You may disagree. But, it's another set of perspectives that you can hopefully take something from. Okay, so let's start off by talking about distraction and procrastination. So I used to be a chronic procrastinator back in my early career. So my wife even used to joke that my nickname was Half a Job Haunts, because I'll get an idea, I'll do a bit of work on it, I get bored, I'll do something else, I'll be distracted by something, I'll move on. I mean, like most people, I've got a GitHub account that's like a graveyard of failed projects. Now, procrastination can be defined as the habit of putting off or delaying, especially something requiring immediate attention. Good example of this, if you remember back to your days at school, you might have had that English assignment that was due in. Your teacher's giving you 3 weeks to work on it, but you always end up trying to rush it either the night before or at breakfast, the day it's supposed to be handed in. So you're deliberately putting off something which you see as being a bit unpleasant. It's some work that you have to do. Now, a lot of these habits from our younger years can kind of bleed across into our professional life. If your boss asks you to produce some utterly dull report on something, a lot of people will try and put it off until the last minute. But there's quite a few dangers to procrastination. So it will stop you achieving your goals because you're constantly putting things off. It just stops you from progressing at the rate that you want to. It can stop you from It can stop you from acting on different tasks because you get into a kind of a pattern of just putting things off and not actually doing it. You kind of build up this habit of just not starting things. It stops you from challenging yourself. Now, one of the ways we grow in our professional careers is by challenging ourselves. You want to do things that are hard. This is how we grow, and this is how we build up experience and progress in life. And it can also lead to high stress levels, because if you're constantly putting things off and then you've suddenly got to rush at something and then you think, oh, my boss is going to give me a kicking for doing this wrong, or I'm going to get in trouble, or a disciplinary process. It raises those cortisol levels in your body, and then you start feeling stressed all the time. And, whilst it's been proven that some small levels of stress can actually be good for you, if you are constantly in high stress, then this is not good for you, and it's going to cause you more health problems, especially as you get older. So why do we procrastinate? Well, there's lots of reasons. So one of them can be a fear of failure. So if you're given a task and it's a bit outside your comfort zone, you might be genuinely scared of messing up that task. It's very common. I find it all the time as well. We don't want to look like an idiot in front of our friends. We don't want to look weak or in a position where, we can't achieve something because we're not good at it. Now, some procrastinators can also be perfectionists. Now, perfectionism is something that is quite bad. Again, we've all been there. I've been there myself. Not so much now, but, if you're scared to hand something in or complete it because you're worried that it's not going to be the absolute best piece of work that you can do, then that can also stop you from acting. And, trying to get something so perfect that you're just absolutely splitting hairs on the smallest of things, to you as the procrastinator or the perfectionist, they could be the biggest things in the world, but really, no one else is going to care. Low energy levels can be another reason why we procrastinate. And I think a lot of people will certainly have felt this over the last 18 months, because if you're at home, constantly, you're trying to homeschool. I mentioned homeschooling a lot because that was a particular pain point for me during the lockdown because it was hard. But it knackers you out. It gives you low energy levels. And then because you're stressed through homeschooling, you might end up drinking too much. I mean, put your hands up if you was there over the lockdown. And then you just got generally low lethargic energy levels. And because you're feeling a bit glum and a bit down, this also gives you a sort of lack of energy, which then means that when you're supposed to do something important, you can't be bothered. And the final reason is just a complete lack of focus. So if we're just not focused or not enjoying what it is we're being asked to do, you don't focus on it and you basically can't be bothered. Okay, so how can we decrease our chances of procrastination? Now, these aren't silver bullets, these are kind of things that you need to work at, but these are ways in which you can help reduce the procrastination problem. So the first one is accepting that we're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. So if anyone tries to tell you that they're perfect, they're not. They might be very good at what they do, but nobody is perfect. You also need to understand that failure is not fatal. If you mess something up, okay, it feels a bit bad at the time, but in all honesty, it's not fatal. You're most likely not going to lose your job unless I guess if you fail constantly, then that might be a bit of a problem with your employer. But if you're asked to do something and you make a mistake, nobody's going to die unless you build airplanes. That might be a different thing. But, it's not fatal. You can kind of look objectively at what you've just done. You can learn from it and then hope you do better next time. So tied to that is, aim to do your best and be happy with the output. So again, not everything you do is going to be perfect. So you need to kind of get used to the idea of knowing what good looks like and what your best is. And then just be happy with what you've done. So next one is, try and develop a healthier lifestyle to get more energy. I mean, we all know this, but a lot of us seem to be quite bad at doing this, myself included. But, being aware of what you eat and what you put into your body makes a massive difference to your energy level. So if you're constantly eating high fat foods that are also full of sugar and salt, they're going to make you more lethargic as your body struggles to process them. It makes you tired. Whereas if you eat, good lean proteins, not have too many carbohydrates, eat lots of fruits and vegetables and salads, that stuff actually helps give you a lot of energy. Again, same thing with alcohol as well. That's really, really bad for draining your energy levels. Go to bed earlier. Again, this one's quite obvious, but if you can get more sleep, then you are going to achieve better, and it's going to reduce your chances of procrastinating because you'll be more alert and awake, certainly in the morning. I knew I needed to record this talk, so I've deliberately not left it till the evening where I know I'm going to be tired. I'm recording this reasonably early in the morning because I know that I've got more energy to do it. Another one is reducing screen time before you go to bed. Now, there seems to be a bit of controversy about whether kind of the different red and blue hues in the screen actually affects your sleep or not. It's kind of thought that if you use one of these like little apps or like some of the focus modes on like the Mac, for example, it reduces some of the blue hues from the screen. It's thought that could actually help you get to sleep. There seems to be a bit of controversy about whether that's actually true or not, so I'm not going to go too much into that. But if you're working late and you're trying to get some work done, I've done this before. Well, I'm working on a script for a pluralsight course, for example, and I might be working on it quite late in the evening. When you go to bed, your brain is just wired thinking about that task, and you find it very hard to unwind. So for me, what I personally do now is an hour before bed, I remove the device. That we have no devices in the bedroom; they get charged in a different room, and I try and read before bedtime. So either an actual paperback physical book or a Kindle as well. I think Kindle's fine, but just by reading before bed, it kind of helps calm your mind down. Well, it does for me anyway. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is controlling social media addiction. Now, I apologise for this slide, but it is there to kind of hit home and prove a point. There are many addictions in life that people sadly do suffer from. So alcohol, smoking, drugs and illicit substances, gambling is quite a big one. But social media, I kind of class in that same category. And the reason is because, anything that you do that gives you a little dopamine hit that kind of makes you feel better, anything that does that can be addictive. So social media can fall into that same category. Now, back in the days when we used to travel around a lot more, this would be the scene that you would see on public transport. Well, certainly what I noticed. Nobody's talking to each other anymore. People are just sitting down there with their noses buried in their screens. I'm just as guilty of this as anyone. And people are, the things that seem to matter to people are how many likes they get on some silly little picture they've just posted. Or, people might get a bit upset because not as many people have clicked like on a funny status that they've put on Twitter or Facebook. And it's kind of a real shame. And I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with social media. So it does have some benefits, and kind of what it aims to achieve by bringing people, together and connecting them together is a good idea. But I think it's gone too far, personally. So social media has many different effects on the brain. So I thought we'd just run through some of them. So posting on social media can elevate our levels of dopamine. And so dopamine is a neurotransmitter for reward, reinforcement and pleasure. Do something fun and nice, you get a little dopamine hit, you feel good. So ways in which social media work with that. So posting on social media. Obviously, we want people to like our pictures. We've got the funny little video that we took of the dog doing something silly. When people click like on that or comment on it, it kind of makes us feel good. It makes us feel validated and needed. So that elevates our dopamine levels, makes us feel good. But it's a similar thing to drugs and alcohol. If you take drugs, it kind of makes you feel good for a bit and then you kind of feel bad afterwards. And it's the same with social media. So a quick fix for this then is to try and get your dopamine rewards from somewhere else. Now, in terms of work, by completing small tasks or goals can actually make you feel good, and it can give you that kind of same dopamine release. A little technique, for example, is if you've got some fairly big tasks on your task list, break them down into smaller tasks, about 3 or 4 smaller tasks, and then physically tick off each one. So I've stopped using a lot of online to-do software, and I use a physical book. So I quite enjoy doing bullet journaling, and it's good because you pick up the pen and you open the book and you physically tick off that task. It makes you feel good. Exercise is very good for dopamine levels. Now, I'm not saying you all have to go out and run marathons or 10k runs or anything like that. I certainly can't do that. I admire anyone that can. But going out for a walk, I do a lot of walking. As I said, I live in and around a national park, so I've got lots of really nice countryside around me, so I go out walking a lot, and I do it every day. Finishing a good book also gives you a dopamine hit, because you have that sort of sense of achievement and satisfaction at the end of it. So I'm currently reading Stephen King's The Stand. Now, that book's 1,500 pages. I'm hoping I feel brilliant by the time I get to the end of that, because it's a big one. Okay, so another hormone that's affected by social media is melatonin. So melatonin is the hormone that governs our circadian rhythm or your sleep-wake cycle. So it's all to do with sleep. So late night computing and screen use suppresses melatonin production. So it makes it harder for us to get to sleep. So we need melatonin to get to sleep. And you can even buy melatonin supplements to help you sleep. But by using your computer late at night or doing any kind of mentally taxing work, it's kind of inhibiting that melatonin production, which makes it harder for us to fall asleep. So some quick fixes for that is getting more sunshine. Actual outdoor sunlight helps. This is why people tend to feel a lot better in the summer and then feel a bit down in the dumps and a bit more glum in winter. Something I personally bought, which I have in the office, I've got on these light panels, which you just put on next to your desk in the winter, and it gives you light at the correct frequency, which is the same as being outside, which helps elevate your vitamin D levels, which helps with your melatonin production. It makes you feel better. So again, avoiding screens late at night or using a night mode. Really, an hour before you go to bed, try and ditch those devices, charge them in a different room, get them out of the bedroom and read or have a warm bath or shower, anything like that, just so you can relax yourself before bed. So the other one is oxytocin. So this is a neurotransmitter that affects our social interaction, sexual chemistry and bonding between family and friends. So this is another kind of hormone that's affected by social media use. So oxytocin increases with real world social interactions like hugging, kissing, I was about to say shaking hands, but we don't really do that anymore. And virtual interactions increase oxytocin slightly, So, if you're going on a Zoom call with a loved one, for example, or chatting with someone on Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever the cool kids use these days, that does increase your oxytocin levels, but it's nothing like actually physically going out and meeting people. And this is why lockdown was so hard for people, because obviously, we couldn't go out and see people. It was banned. It certainly was in the UK for a bit. And that affects people's oxytocin levels. So the quick fix for that is obviously to meet real friends and family in the real world. Hopefully, different parts of the world are starting to open up and some semblance of normality is returning to different places, so you can actually get out and go and see family and friends. Over the last few months where things have been getting better in the UK, me and my family have made a big thing of spending weekends away and going visiting friends and family all over the country. It's brilliant. Simple things like playing with your kids, going to kick a ball about in the garden, or playing basketball, or playing some board games, some video games with the kids. Anything, just spending time with the children is good. But surprisingly, that is one of the things that can suffer in our busy, hectic professional lives. And again, real conversation and physical contact, actually being in a room with people, is good for our oxytocin levels, makes us feel better. Okay, and the last one is serotonin. This is a neurotransmitter that contributes to a feeling of happiness and well-being. So high levels of this boost your mood and they make you feel happy and more energetic, which is good. And low levels of serotonin are closely linked with depression and lethargy. So low levels of this can cause negative thoughts, it can make you very irritable, and it can increase your anxiety levels and make you feel more anxious. And social media can have a big problem with our serotonin levels because it can really affect your feeling of self-worth and it can make you feel inadequate. And the example I like to use on this is things like Instagram and Facebook. So your family and friends, they always post photos of the good things that are going on, never the bad things. So you can be scrolling through Instagram, for example, and all you're seeing is good things happening, birthday parties or people on holiday and doing funny things with the pets and all the good stuff. And if you're having a pretty bad time or a bad day, maybe you're having a problem at work or you've had an argument with a family member, you're feeling a bit down in the dumps and having a generally terrible day, scrolling through all of this stuff on social media can actually make you feel worse. It's like, oh, look at these people having a really good time. I've got a friend here, one example of a friend of my wife's actually. Now, she's normally quite miserable. She's not the happiest of person. But if you look through her Instagram feed, you'd think everything is like rainbows, unicorns and princesses. Whereas we know it's not. She's generally quite a moody, grumpy person. So things like Instagram are really bad for making you feel worse, not better. Now, if you're in a really good mood and things are going great, and then you go on Instagram and you see your friends on holiday and the kids are having a birthday party, it can make you feel good as well if you're feeling good. But if you're not feeling good and you scroll through these things, it can make you feel a bit like it affects your self-worth, make you feel a bit inadequate, which is not good. Pardon me. So again, a good quick fix for increased serotonin levels is exercise and sunshine. Exercise is always a good idea for everything in life. And again, I'm not talking about going out and running a marathon, just going for a nice brisk walk. Walking at a pace where you're just slightly out of breath is what they say is good for you. Trying to maintain a positive outlook. Now, I know that can be easier said than done. And one thing I'd never say to anyone that's suffering from depression is, try and be positive and cheer up, because that's the worst thing you can say. But generally try and, if you can, remain positive about things like, I've got some good things going on at work at the moment. And lockdowns are easing and, we've got vaccinations and things are looking better. It says down the bottom there, the glass is half full, damn it, it's not half empty. Okay, so I wrote a fairly long article a while ago, back in 2018, and it's this article which became the basis of why I did this talk. So I'm kind of quoting myself, which feels odd, but there you go. So social media is dangerous because it rewards you for posting and getting likes, which is dopamine. It makes you feel artificially connected, oxytocin, even if you are isolated deep inside. It makes you feel bad about yourself, which is serotonin, as you vicariously live the life through your friends. And as I said before, constantly seeing people being happy on social media can actually have a detrimental effect on you, which is why social media really needs to be tamed, and you need to be careful about how you use it. And basically, life is too short. I mean, social media, everyone got caught on the buzz of it, and a lot of people are addicted to it, but really it's not that good. There's better ways to be spending your time. But, I'm not going to say just ditch all of social media, because that doesn't work. It's like fad diets, where people try to crash diet and, or yo-yo diet as they call it in the UK here. It doesn't work. Just trying to ban something completely from your life, it never works. So what I want to do is I want to talk about how I've tackled different social media sites. Now, the four that I use are Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So I've never used Snapchat. In fact, my daughter always jokes that I'm too old to use Snapchat. As far as she's concerned, all the old people use Facebook. She's probably right. So I've classified my social media use into two areas. So Twitter and LinkedIn are purely for business. I'll go into more detail in a bit, but they are purely business tools for me. And Facebook and Instagram are purely personal, so I don't tend to mix business on my personal social media. Now, I'm going to start off with Facebook. So at one point, I had 750 friends. I have no idea where all of these people came from. A lot of them were just colleagues, ex-colleagues from other companies. And you know how it is. You work with people and then you just instinctively just hit a friend request thing on Facebook. So I went through a little process where I thought, this is ridiculous. Having 750 people on this social network is just ludicrous. Facebook doesn't even show you all their stuff. It tries to be intelligent about it by using some nonsense AI to control what it thinks you want to see. So having that many people is kind of futile anyway. So I went through a process and I reduced it down to 50. And I call this process, or this game, it's called Do You Stay or Do You Go? So, first of all, if you were family or close friends, you stay. Family's family, unless there's anyone in your family you don't like. But, families like, parents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, grandkids, all that sort of thing. I haven't got grandkids, but you might. So they stayed by default. Close family friends. Now, what's a close family friends? It's people that I'd actually go and see in real life. I'd go to a coffee shop to have a coffee with them. I'd go to the pub, go out for a meal, go play golf or anything like that. So if you're in that category, you stayed. If you weren't, you go. Old co-workers that I actually like. I had a huge amount of ex-co-workers on there. Now, in real life, there's only 2 co-workers from my career that I class as good, close friends that I stay in touch with. Now, I'm not saying I didn't like all the others. They were nice people, got on well. We all achieved good things, but they're not friends. They were colleagues. And I think there's a difference between the two. Your colleagues don't have to be friends. Doesn't mean you don't like them. You can get on with them and everyone has fun and you can do little corporate social events and you can all have a laugh and you can go out drinking and stuff. But I didn't class them as friends. They weren't in my inner sanctum friendship group, apart from 2. So it was only 2 out of that group that actually stayed. I don't really care what the rest are getting up to. It may sound harsh, but I didn't. So this is a weird one. When I've done this talk before, some people say I'm being a bit mean on this, but I am who I am. So if I saw you on the street and I would run into a shop to avoid seeing you or hide behind, I was about to say lamppost, but I don't think anyone's going to, I'm certainly not about to hide behind a lamppost, but if I would try and avoid you on the street and like go in a phone box or in a shop to avoid you, then I probably don't want you on Facebook either. And a few fell into that category, so they went as well. Now, I had one overriding thing. So the people that were left, I would look at them critically and say, are you a constant complainer or are you overly political? So if I've got someone on there that's family or friends, but they're just constantly whinging. So I had some friends, actually, I'll come on to this in a minute. Or if you're overly political. Now, I engage in politics a little bit. I wouldn't say I'm a very political person. I vote when I'm asked to vote. But I don't constantly whinge about it. So I had some friends in the UK and some friends, in Europe, like speaker friends, who were just constantly, all the time going on about Donald Trump. Now, they're not even American. Now, everyone, if you don't like the guy, you might have a little whinge every now and again. That's fine. Everyone blows off a little steam on social media, but constantly going on about them when you're not even American. Like, why? And to be honest, I didn't want to hear it. And, I've similar things. I've had people going on about, Joe Biden when they're not even American. It's like, well, why? He's not even your leader. You don't live in that country. But, in the UK, you've got people constantly complaining about, the government that's in power in the UK, the Conservative Party, or going on about Boris Johnson. It's like, the government's made a lot of mistakes, but I don't want to read about it constantly on social media. We have the news for that. So people that fall into those categories who are very negative all the time, constantly complaining or just overly political, they went, because quite frankly, I don't want to read about it. So that's how I tamed Facebook. So I went from 750 friends down to 50 close family and friends. And you know what? Facebook is actually enjoyable again. I actually quite like it. I'm not one of these people that says, oh, Facebook is evil. It is what it is. But Facebook for me now is actually quite pleasant to use because I actually like the people that are on there and I genuinely care about what they get up to in their lives. It's quite nice seeing nieces and nephews, living their lives and growing up and stuff like that. Okay, Twitter. Ooh, our friend Twitter. I have a little pet name for Twitter, and that's the toxic dumpster fire of hate. Twitter is awful, absolutely awful. But it's one of those things that, you kind of need to use in a way. So it required quite a bit of attention, this one. So I'm very careful how I use Twitter. I don't have conversations with people. I don't chat to people. I don't engage in hot topics of conversation or anything like that. Not interested. For me, it's notifications about what I'm doing. Hey, I've just released this new course on Pluralsight. I assume my followers on Twitter are there because they've either seen my courses, read my books, seen me talk, or done anything like that. So I assume that they want to know about things that I've done. If they don't, and they don't like me using it for basically promotion, they're free to block, mute, unfriend, or whatever it is called. I'm not sure what the Twitter parlance is. But I use it just for notifications about what I'm doing. Occasionally I'll retweet something that's funny. I like cat pictures as much as everyone else. But I never get engaged in conversations on there because Twitter is just awful. People are just really mean to each other for no good reason. So I went through, again, I looked at the amount of people I was following, and it's thousands. It's like, oh my God. And what it is, you go to a conference and you meet someone, and then the first thing you do is you kind of exchange Twitter handles, and there's just loads of people. I had actually no idea who they were. Not at all. I'm not being rude to them, but I don't really care what they're tweeting because I have no idea I don't even remember adding you as a friend. So I removed all of those. I'm not sure what my current follow list is, but it's a lot smaller. Making use of lists. Now, this is actually a pretty good feature on Twitter. I'll give them credit here. So you can make different lists and you can categorize people into different lists. So I've got like a list for Pluralsight colleagues, people who work there. I've made quite a lot of friendships with staff at Pluralsight and plus other authors. I genuinely care about what they're doing. They're nice people. So I can go to my Pluralsight list and just see what's going on. I have another list, for example, of book authors that I enjoy, both fiction and non-fiction. I quite like to hear what they're getting up to. I do have one for celebrities. I mean, who doesn't want to know what Dwayne The Rock Johnson's getting up to? He's the king of acting, as far as I'm concerned. So I want to know what he's up to. And then, I've got a few other random lists as well. So when I use Twitter now, if I just want to go and browse it, I never go to the main timeline anymore. I always just go to the lists because it's a much more controlled, focused list, more basically. Another feature which I was quite late to the party in finding out about, which is why I've never included it on the slides, but I actually realised or found out, a good friend of mine, Dylan Beattie, told me about this. There's actually a way that you can put a keyword muting list on Twitter as well, which means it just won't show you certain tweets with certain words in them. And this is brilliant. I've got a massive mute list on Twitter, so I don't care about politics. Not interested. So, I've got a massive list of Biden, Trump, Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, Tories, Brexit, lots around Brexit. I got sick of hearing about that. So I've got loads of mute lists around that and various different subjects. I think I have about 250 words or phrases on the mute list. And that makes it a much better thing because, as I said, I use this as a business tool. I'm not engaging politically with people. I don't care about other various people's causes. That's not what I use Twitter for. So that's actually a really good technique for just muting a whole load of stuff that you're not interested in, which is great. So for me, I use a lot of the tools in Twitter to make Twitter work for me. Now, I don't think Twitter is a particularly brilliant site. It has its uses, so letting people know about courses or books that I've released is good. That's kind of the only thing that I use it for. There are some tools that I've been playing around with which make Twitter and Instagram kind of manageable, well, mostly Twitter for me. So there's one called Later, which is quite a good one to look at. And it's kind of, if you want to plan marketing campaigns, if I want to say, right, next week I want to really promote, my lean software development course, for example, on Pluralsight, I can say, okay, so I can set up pre-written tweets that can go out at certain points. It gives you like a calendar view, a bit like Outlook, and you can say when certain things are going to happen at what time, and if you want to retweet and stuff like that. So that's a really good way of just setting up these campaigns without actually having to go into Twitter, which is quite nice. And also one which you're probably familiar with is Buffer. So if you're on a news article or a technical article, you think, oh yeah, that's pretty good, you can say add it to Buffer, and then what Buffer will do is it will a schedule which you can dictate. It will take this queue of posts and it will just blink them out onto Twitter at various different stages, so you don't even have to log into Twitter to manage it, which is useful. Not really got anything hugely interesting to say about Instagram. So Instagram is something I use for personal use. I enjoy it. It's a fun site. I said it, as I said before, it does have its problems. So it can, if you're in a particular bad mood or you're not having a good day, I don't recommend using Instagram, because people posting all their seemingly perfect life, and I do it myself, I don't post bad stuff on Instagram, I post the good things that happen. But if you're constantly exposed to that and you're not having a good day, or you're suffering from a bout of depression or anxiety, going on Instagram is probably not the best thing to do. But as a social media platform, I enjoy it. It's photos. I like taking photos, so I haven't really got anything bad to say about it. I haven't really done anything to tweak my usage of it, except if I'm having a bad day, I don't go on it. And again, LinkedIn, haven't really got anything bad to say about it. It's basically an online CV, isn't it, and social network for people to chat. I don't really use it. Like I say, I don't have conversations with people on there. So another measure which I took as well is removing social media from my phone. And this is quite a big one. This really makes a difference, because we kind of seem to be hardwired to reach into our pockets and pull our phones out, and the first thing we do is we go on Twitter or Instagram and Facebook. When we're on the move, like walking down the street, you see people looking like zombies on their phones. And one way you can get rid of a lot of that is just to delete social media from it. Now, my iPad has social media on it, that's fine, and I use social media on my main computers, but I never use it on my phone. And it feels a bit weird to start with when you do that, but after a while you kind of get into the habit of not just always reaching for your phone and going onto Facebook or whatnot. Of course, I now just go onto Slack, which is another problem. But I use Slack for my working life, so I do kind of need that on my phone. Something that always worries me, I'm a parent, I've got 2 children. I've got a daughter who's 12 and a son who's 9. And, knowing about all these problems with social media, as a parent, I do worry about how it's going to affect children growing up. Because when I was younger, we didn't have any of this. I didn't really have a permanent internet connection that I could use until I went off to university. Before that, it was a dodgy dial-up, and my dad was always telling me off for the cost of the phone bill. But these days, children know nothing else. They grow up with the internet and all these things are around them. My daughter started using Instagram. They're all into that TikTok thing, although I really don't see the point of it. But I'm too old for that sort of thing, I guess. But I do worry about how this is going to affect them. So me and my wife have taken measures to try and control how we work with the kids. So one thing is, I've got a router set up, and I think most routers have these features where you can actually set up times that the kids can't use the internet. And this is quite important. I always refer to it as the ban hammer. But I have profiles for them set up on the router. I've added their devices into those profiles, and then I can say things like, 7 o'clock at night, internet's gone. The internet doesn't come on until a certain time in the morning. So we set up a series of rules. So these are rules for normal times, not lockdown. I'll come on to that in a moment. So our general daily rule with the kids is, you get up, the internet is disabled. So you have to get ready for school, you have to get dressed for school, have your breakfast, brush your teeth, do half an hour of reading. My kids get up ludicrously early, annoyingly. So let's do half an hour of reading from an actual book, not on a computer, from a real physical paper book. Once they've done that, and if they get it done, then the internet can go on for a little bit, and if they're good, they get about 40 minutes of doing whatever they want to do before they go to school. If they moan and complain about it, which they do sometimes, it reduces that amount of time that they get to play on it. If they are just blatantly naughty, it doesn't go on before school, and they can't use it at all. So it's quite a good way of controlling the internet usage. Now again, in the evening, so they come home and they have to do any homework that's been set. They have to do a bit more reading, although we've tweaked this a little bit. It's now reading before bed. And they have to make sure their rooms are tidy. Do all those things, and they're not naughty or anything, then the internet can go on. So what we actually do now is the internet goes off at 7 p.m. and they have to do an hour of reading before they go to sleep. And this has been particularly important for my son because he's been diagnosed with ADHD and he's now on the medication for it. So for him, the best thing to do is build up routines, and routines really help him. So he has this, my daughter's never been a problem with this, but my son, it's very much 7 o'clock, you have to do an hour's reading before you go to bed. And we've now instilled that as a routine. Now, I'm not for 1 second trying to make out that me and my wife are perfect parents, because we're not. Now, during lockdown, things were different. So we had to homeschool. Now, obviously, trying to homeschool a child that's got ADHD and he's now been diagnosed with autism as well was hard. My daughter was, she's becoming a teenager, shall we say, and we had quite a bit of trouble trying to get their work done, but do our work as well. So a lot of these rules we had around the internet availability eventually went out the window, and we're just like, look, just get your work done and you can spend the afternoon on your phones, because we had to work as well. So, I'm not at all trying to say that we're perfect, we're not. But now we're back to a more of a normal routine where the kids are back at school and all that. We've gone back to trying to control their internet usage this way. Frequently setting goals. Now, this is a really good technique for making sure that you achieve things, and that's just to set goals. Now, I'm not talking about New Year's resolutions, because New Year's resolutions are the most pointless thing that you can ever do. And I think goals work better when they're shorter term. So I generally don't set goals for myself any further than a quarter of a year out, because things can change during the year. It's pointless me saying, in H2 of this year I'm going to do this, when it's like February. So there's no point. But I like to set quarterly goals for myself. And then, as I said, I don't use online to-do systems anymore. I use a physical book. I have it here. I like to, highlight things and tick things off. But every day or every week, I start the week off and I say, what is it I want to achieve this week? And then for each day, at the beginning, I have, what is my daily goal? What's the one really important thing that I want to do today? Well, I think, this is a good day. Now, the day I'm recording this talk, I've got a few things I need to do after this talk, but the one task which will make me think, I've done good today, is recording this talk for you and submitting the final edited version. But by setting goals and then ticking them off as you go through the day, you're going to be more productive. You know what you're doing, you know where you're going, quite importantly, knowing what you're trying to achieve over time. But just ticking those goals off makes you feel good. But always try and break your goals down into smaller sub-goals as well if you can. So, for example, last week my main goal for the week was to submit a new update to a Pluralsight course. It's a course that was already in the library, but I did a big update and a re-record of it. So you might have a high-level goal, which is record module 4. Well, that's a bit of a big goal. There's a lot of stuff in there, so it's best to break it down. So what do I want to do for module 4? Well, I want to record it. Then I want to edit it, remove out any duff takes and things like that. Then I need to export it to the correct settings. Then I need to watch it, make sure it's good. And then I need to submit it to my colleagues at Pluralsight so they can kind of do their stuff with it. So it's like 5 separate tasks just for record module 4. So breaking things down, you're physically ticking them off and it makes you feel good. So if you're someone that uses calendars quite a lot, and I don't actually use online calendars very much at all. anymore. I kind of got out of the habit of using them, not deliberately. I just stopped using them. But if you do use a calendar, and for work, and you've got meetings and all that, block out time in your calendar where you're trying to get serious work done, and just mark yourself as not available at all. So back in my professional career, before I started working for myself, what I used to do and what I used to encourage people in my team to do was to block out what we called core hours. So 10 a.m. until 12 p.m. or lunchtime, those 2 hours, core hours. Nobody can book meetings in those 2 hours. And then 2 until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, block it out, not available, no one can book any hours. So there's 4 hours a day where you are head down, headphones on, doing really good work. Now, that's 4 hours out of a potential 8-hour working day. So there's plenty of time that people can book meetings face-to-face or online or whatnot, or come over to your desk and disturb you about stuff. There's plenty of time in the day for that stuff to still happen. But those 4 hours, I used to encourage my people on my teams to treat those as, the hours that no one can touch. Now, emergencies happen where sometimes you do have to interrupt those hours. And if there's a production outage and everyone has to drop everything and react, fine, that stuff happens. But blocking out time in your calendar, and then mercilessly, if someone tries it, and you always get someone, there's always that one person that tries to book that meeting over that time that you set as not available. Decline it, unless it's with the CEO. Might want to attend that one, but generally decline it. And eventually people start to get the hint that those 4 hours that you've blocked out in your calendar cannot be touched. And my teams that I used to run were so productive because they followed that one simple rule. No one was allowed to disturb them really in that time. Certainly me. I wouldn't go booking one-to-ones and appraisal meetings in those core hours. I book them outside of that because there's still 4 hours in the day where you can book meetings. And if you're a manager and you try and encourage your team to do this, trust me, they'll thank you after a while. Reward yourself for hitting goals. As I said, we like to get those little hits of oxytocin. Sometimes just ticking a task off makes us feel good, but reward yourself. Once I've done these tasks on my task list, I'm going to go and have a nice cup of coffee, or I'm going to go for a little walk, or not that I'm going to encourage unhealthy eating, but you might treat yourself to a couple of biscuits. Whatever the goal is, whatever makes you feel good. It might be, if I get this massive project done, that I'm going to treat myself and buy myself an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 or whatnot. Doesn't matter what it is, but little rewards can just make us feel good about hitting our goals. So when you're working, a lot of people, especially software developers, might recognize the Pomodoro timer on the screen there. But working in small sprints during your day can really help you focus. So the Pomodoro technique is probably one of the most common ones, where you might work for, say, 10 minutes, where you set the timer and you work for 10 or 15 minutes, whatever your interval is. And you work completely focused in that time, headphones on, phone off, no one can disturb you, and you work like you mean it. Then the buzzer goes off, then you might have a 5-minute break, you might just get up, stretch your legs, go for a walk, nip to the bathroom, go get a drink or whatnot. Then after that 5 minutes, you come down, reset the timer, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever interval you want to use, then you just get on with it again. This is a brilliant way of being able to focus and get a lot of work done in a short space of time. It works brilliantly. Now, you don't have to use a physical tomato timer, although you can. You can get lots of little apps, and I use one called Focus Time on the Mac. Equivalents exist on Windows, I expect. And these just let you really focus your mind on the task at hand. And it works really well. Plus you get these little rewards of a little break. You can go get a cup of coffee or some water or whatnot in between. So the next one, let's give myself a little reward of coffee there for getting to the end of that slide. The next one is batching similar tasks together. So one problem that can affect most creative professionals or professionals in general is context switching. You're doing one type of task and then you switch to do something else. And there's quite a lot of cognitive load that you have to deal with to switch tasks. So what I do is I batch things together. So a good example, so I'm self-employed. So that means there's, as well as building courses and books and all that sort of stuff, there's things you have to do legally for a business. So finance is one of them, for example. So if I purchase anything through the business, I can have receipts and stuff, and you have to tag transactions in the accounting software and generate reports for the accountant and all that. I do all of that on a Friday morning. So I don't just regularly do accounting throughout the week. Friday morning is company finances time. So I batch all of those little tasks that I need to do together, and I do them in one go. It's the same with writing. So a lot of the writing tasks, I try and batch those into a similar time. So if I've written, say, the script for module 1 of a course, and then I might write a little bit for a book, and then I might have some shorter articles that I need to do. I try and keep myself in writing mode for as long as I can, and I might do various different things in that writing mode. It's the same with recording as well. So if I need to record, like, this talk or some modules for a course, I might do all of that on one particular day where I'm kind of, I'm mentally prepared as, today's my recording day. But by batching things like that, it stops you from having this kind of cognitive shift in different types of tasks, which makes your life a lot easier, I think. So another one is perform those dreaded tasks in the morning. Now, we all have tasks that we love doing, and we all have tasks that we're not overly keen on doing, the stuff that, the grotty tasks. So get those done in the morning when you're more awake. So if you have to produce a report for your manager on, I don't know, some boring enterprisey thing, do that first thing in the morning when your brain's more awake, and you're more likely to get through that task without feeling awful. And then do some of the other tasks later in the day. Brilliant technique, works every time. You can get focus mode tools online. I can't remember the name of one. I think it's called Focus. And what you can do is you can set times when you're wanting to be focused. You know how I said about 10 to 12, 2 till 4 being core hours. You can set those as focus times. So then if you then try to go onto Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or whatnot, then it won't let you, and it'll just show you an inspirational quote instead. So that can be really good for kind of breaking that kind of reflexive problem where you might just, not even realize you're doing it. You just brought up a browser window and typed in Twitter. So this can help you. It can be a little mental jolt to go, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to be doing that. Now, it's not perfect. Sometimes you might think, well, actually, I'm in core hours, but I do genuinely need to go to Twitter to post some promotional stuff for a course or something like that. So you can override it. You can do like an admin override, but you have to consciously go and do that. So those tools work quite good. And the last one is a change of scenery really helps. Now, I talked about this at the beginning. I found that working from home kind of made me feel a bit like cabin fevered. I didn't like it. I still to this day do not like working from home, even more so after lockdown. So I like to have a change of scenery. So I come to this office that I rent. I've got local coffee shops that I use. I sometimes go to the local library, and they've got a little study zone there, so you can go and do some work. And every now and again I'll kind of go to my nearest city, which is Derby, and there's a couple of co-working spaces that sometimes I'll just use maybe once a month, just for a break. I'll go to a co-working space, do some work there, and you kind of meet lots of interesting like-minded freelancers and business owners as well. So that kind of works for me. But the key thing is, a frequent change of scenery really does help. Now, back in my corporate life, I used to do this as well. So just to get away from my desk, sometimes I'd go to the on-site coffee bar and do some work from there. Or on a few occasions where I was just really busy and just wanted to lock myself away, I would book a meeting room in a different building for an hour or two, and then just go and work in that meeting room just to kind of get away from everyone. So change of scenery can really help you focus. It's like, familiarity breeds contempt, as the saying goes. But if you mix up where you work, you might have one, like this office that I'm in now, this is my main place of work, but I have lots of different options that I can use just to make working more fun and more focused. Okay, so that's come to the end of the talk now. So I've got one Pluralsight course which might be of use to you. So if you're a Pluralsight subscriber, this is a good talk, a good course to watch. And it's called Increasing Productivity by Beating Procrastination. So this is much more of a deep dive on kind of what procrastination is, the problems it causes, but more importantly, how to overcome it and develop an ability to focus. So it's been quite a popular course, and it's really helped quite a lot of people. With that, thank you very much. You can find me, I have a website, stephenhaunts.com. not been too brilliant at keeping it up to date recently. I need to fix that. You can also find me on the Toxic Dumpster Fire of Hate, Twitter, at Stephen Haunts. And if you're interested in watching kind of most of my course, well, all of my courses, I have 24 released courses now on Pluralsight covering a range of subjects that are really designed to kind of help professionals succeed in their careers. So you can find me over there. So with that, it's been an absolute pleasure to do this presentation for you, and I hope some of the things that I've discussed in here really kind of help you tame your social media usage and kind of reduce all those distractions that stop you from doing your best. So with that, thank you very much.